A relentless pursuit of top officials following interdiction of 4 managers accused of high-level corruption.
If they are found guilty, then my disappointment is that why should people who are entrusted with authority and responsibility, behave the way they have behaved? We will be relentless on our effort to make sure that the right things are always done.
We'll tell you how nearly 30,000 cedis meant as allowances for some parliamentarians was diverted into private accounts at the GIPC.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services, your success, our passion. Belacra Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water. It's also brought to you by Lifebuoy, still 100% better germ protection. Also by Blue Rose Limited and Star Life Assurance. A relentless pursuit of top officials of the Ghana Investment Promotions Center, cited in alleged corruption, is well and truly underway following the interdiction of 4 managers. The interdicted officials are accused of procurement violations. Director of Legal Services at the center, Abdul Rahman Mahama, is, for instance, accused of diverting nearly 30,000 cedis meant to be paid as allowances to some parliamentarians into his private account. GIPC board chairman Ishmael Yamsing has expressed shock at the revelations in an exclusive interview with Joy News. I will bring you details of that interview shortly. But first, my colleague Elton John Brobe joins me in the studio with more on the ongoing investigations that we understand is currently underway. Tell us about the specifics.
Well, let me just say that we have the detailed audited report, but this is just a summary. Now, 4 individuals, like you mentioned, Mr. A.R. Mahama, for him, he failed to give reasons why public funds amounting to 20,900 Ghana cedis meant to be paid as allowances to parliamentary committee members were paid into his own personal account. His conduct, according to this report, is a gross violation of the financial guidelines of the Public Service and, for that matter, the GIPC. What the committee has yet to unravel is the fact that it does not know how long this huge amount of public funds have been kept in his personal account without the knowledge of the management of the center, since this information was concealed from the chief executive officer until the very last minute. That is during the meeting with parliamentarians at Dodowa on Sunday, 2nd June 2013. According to the report, Mr. Mahama was negligent in his actions by failing to ensure that the center's interests were protected and also failing to ensure that the center's name was not brought into disrepute. For this reason, the audit report is recommending his outright dismissal.
I see.
There's also,
It's 2 others.
2 others. There's also Mr. Kenneth Doe. For him, even though he has all along been aware of the fact that Mr. Mahama actually kept part of the money in his personal account, when the chief executive called a meeting to address this particular issue, he was asked how much money is in his possession. He could only mention 5,000 Ghana cedis.
He did mention 5,000.
But later investigation revealed that he actually had 14,000 in his possession. And the committee says that with regard to clarification on the auditor's finding, he did not follow through public procurement requirement prior to the payment of transactions referred to in the audit report. Also, this particular person should also be dismissed.
And the access is again falling on the Director of Public Affairs there.
Exactly. And then there's Mr. Edward Ashon Lato, who is in charge of marketing and public relations. His crime is that he did not follow through on public procurement requirements in the printing of promotional materials in spite of concerns raised by the internal auditor on the transaction in question. And he's also
another procurement violation. He's been asked that the recommendation that he be sacked. But there's another name on the list that rings a bell. Talking about Vivian Ejipon, the administrative and protocol officer. Some media houses indeed have reported that she's been picked up already. But my curiosity, is this the same individual who some time back was reported to have recommended that $20,000 of the taxpayers' money be voted for the 70th birthday party of Mr. Ishmael Yamsing? That's the board chairman.
Absolutely correct. And this is the same person whom the BNI picked for, photocopying some documents relating to the president, some confidential document, if you like, relating to the president and investors that are in the custody of the GIPC. So these individuals are under investigation. According to Mr. Ishmael Yamson, they will wait to see the outcome of that investigation, whether to comply with the directive to dismiss them or whatever.
Elton John Bobby, thank you very much. Well, he had him talk about Mr. Ishmael Yamson. He himself has been speaking about the revelations. He says he's disappointed that such top-level officials can be accused of such corruption. Listen.
The disappointment is that the level at which this was perpetrated is not the level that you would expect, because in most organizations you find the executive level really committed to safeguard the integrity of the organization. And I must be careful, because until the issue has been properly investigated, the investigation will soon start, you cannot say that they are guilty. But if they are found guilty, then my disappointment is that why should people who are entrusted with authority and responsibility, behave the way they have behaved? Now, the good thing is that the GIPC has stood up to face this problem. It is very unlikely in many organizations to have a board taking a very tough stand against bad behavior in the organization. And we will be relentless on our effort to make sure that the right things are always done. I mean, for me, I'm allergic to bad corporate behavior. If you want to work in this place, you know the rules and regulations. You either are prepared to obey them and remain there, or you must find a door and exit. It's as simple as that. There are no two ways about it. You see, these were very basic breaches. I mean, breaches, the rules are there. Breaches about, ensuring that you follow the procurement regulations, for instance, and ensuring that the right thing is done. So you don't go and invent new rules. The rules are there. It's just compliance.
And we understand that there's a month-long investigations going on right now while these officers remain interdicted. We can now speak to Vitus Azim, Executive Director of Anti-Corruption Group, Ghana Integrity Initiative. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Now, Mr. Ishmael Yamson says he is disappointed because the violations happened at the top management level. Clearly, these corrupt practices have gone on for some time, but it took the new CEO appointed this year to discover this rot because she ordered the audit. Shouldn't Mr. Yamson himself and the entire board be held responsible for supervising such rot for this long?
Well, definitely. They are put on top of the organization to ensure that things are properly done. And so if these things are happening below their noses, then there's a problem. And especially as we saw last year, the payment for the birthday party. We saw the giving of monies to a group that was supposed to be working for the election of President John Mahama. These are issues that should have already alerted an alert board to go further to investigate further to find out what is happening. And this should have been uncovered before the new managing director came in.
You recall correctly the scandal about monies released from GIPC for political purposes, plus the $20,000 used for the birthday party. I'm wondering if all that points to a certain systemic failure at the center.
Well, it is probably not just a systemic failure, but it's deliberate. People are aware of the rules, they are refusing to obey them, and those that are supposed to ensure that these rules are obeyed are not doing it. Because for one thing or the other, maybe they stand to gain. If all of a sudden you are a board chair and they decide to say, oh, we are offering you a birthday party, there should be a reason. You should be worried that they're offering to pay for a birthday party for you. And so you should think about it and decide, why are you doing this? What do you have in it? So yes, these are some of the things that can happen. Yes, there can be systemic failures, but they can also be people just refusing to obey or refusing to act on these things.
Those comments begs the question, is interdiction enough?
No, interdiction is not, I don't think it is enough, but because they are investigating, you cannot just penalize them without investigating and establishing that, yes, they are actually guilty. Of course, the audit report has found them guilty. The management has recommended the termination of their appointments, some of them their appointments, but then, yeah, you need to also hear from their side. So interdiction is just say stay out whilst we look into more detail into these allegations.
We've tried to reach some of the individuals concerned. They're not willing to make any comments, and that's understandable perfectly. But some say what we are seeing at GIPC right now is probably symptomatic of a bigger problem with similar public institutions. Would you agree?
I agree totally with you, because one of the serious things that have been mentioned in the audit report is the payment of $20,000 to parliamentarians. One would ask, why should this big amount of money be paid to parliamentarians? Does the GPIC, are they the employers of parliamentarians? So that is already a very serious issue that we should not ignore. We need to ask those questions. Why should such a big amount of money be paid to parliamentarians? For what work done? Because there are also public officials paid from the state coffers.
Well, probably they had some meetings and they took the money. It's possible.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Meetings, unofficial meetings. What were the bases? What were the rates that were calculated and arrived at? So these are things these are people that are supposed to have oversight over these institutions. And so we need to ask them to explain how they came by these monies, how the monies were not paid and diverted. Did they know they were diverted? I mean, there's more to it than just the individuals' names that have been mentioned. And it's probably not only GIPC. There are other public institutions that have probably been paying parliamentarians to do things for them. And if this is happening, it is not good enough for our parliamentarians. They are honorable people, and they need to also be held accountable for some of these acts.
Let's talk then about the propriety of GIPC itself investigating its own staff. Is that something that we should stick with, or some independent institution must be brought in?
Well, I think that since there's a new management and they have initiated the process, we probably have to give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them to do the investigation. But of course, the fact that board members are still the same board members, it will be more appropriate to get an independent body to investigate these cases.
You touched on the 20,000, actually nearly 30,000 that was paid to parliamentarians by the GIPC. Clearly then, the parliamentarians themselves, they have some questions to answer.
Yeah, that's what I've just said. They need to explain why these things are happening, because this is not the only case. We've been hearing rumors, although not established, about similar cases at other places. I think it's not good enough for our parliamentarians, and that's why they are now being paid well, so that they should stop making such, getting involved in such things if they have been happening. That's if they have been happening.
Thank you, sir, for your time. Vitus Azim is Executive Director of the Anti-Corruption Group, Ghana Integrity Initiative. That's it for Top Story. You want to join us in 15 minutes on News Time, because we'll be telling you about the story we are learning right now. As far as the market fires are concerned, some 2 million, we understand, is going to be the seed capital for them to settle all these market women. There are questions being asked by the market women themselves that we will interrogate if you join us on Newsnight. Plus today in Parliament, you understand that there's an attempt to amend that loan agreement that was going to bring in $3 billion from the Chinese government. What is happening as far as that is concerned? Again, we'll give you details on that if you join us on Newsnight in 15 minutes. My name is Evan Spencer. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Financial Services. Your success, our passion. Belacra Mineral Water, the new generation mineral water. It's also brought to you by Lifebuoy, still 100% better germ protection. Also by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, and Star Life Assurance.